Hello, Thorsten.
Hey,
Hey, this is our third video already. We're making progress.
it is.
Today's topic is really nice because we talk about an update of Trickle, a lot of new features and improvements. I walk you through what changed, and it's also a good opportunity to learn about Trickle. As a quick background, again, we're friends. I show you Trickle. You're representing here the average user.
Exactly.
First of all, the most visible change is this little logo here on the top left, early access. It's now official in the logo that Trickle is not yet finished, but we're heading in the right direction. And this is the early access mode. You can try it. You can go to trickle.app, create an account, log in and use it just like I do here. This is my personal account. It's perfectly fine to use, but you will discover some bits and pieces that don't work so well. And we signal this here with the early access logo.
Yeah, I like the name early access.
Yeah,
better
right.
than beta or something.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than beta version. And it comes from the gaming industry, right? Where you can buy games that are not yet finished, but you can already play. They have bugs, but you're along for the ride. Okay, so the biggest useful improvement is fast routing. That was our internal name. And it means that the page doesn't have to reload so often. This will make Trickle faster. Now, Trickle is not yet fast. You will see that the loading times are still a little bit slow. On the one hand, I hope that some users are already discovering the new features, and that's why there's load on the system. But we have also a lot to improve to make the loading times faster. So bear with us here. But generally, if I click here on a card like this, then the page doesn't have to reload. The page just refreshes the parts of the page that needs to be refreshed. If I go back now to my Trickle with this button, which is also new and part of this update, you click here on My Trickle and whoop, you're back. The page didn't have to reload. A promising future in which we're heading, that loading times are just faster or not even noticeable. It doesn't work yet if you're using the menu. Of course, we'll change that, but if you click on the My Trickle here in the menu, it reloads the page. If you click on in the menu and then My Sources, it refreshes the whole page. It does only work when you click on an item directly or if you use the My Trickle button. Another related change is in the past, when I clicked here on a source, nothing happened. I had to click the connections button. But now you can actually click anywhere on the source and it will trigger the connection page, that you see the connections of a source or a drip or a stream. Again, I'm going back to My Trickle. If I click now on a stream, I go to the connection page and see connections that I connected to that stream. I talked a little bit about these principles in the past two videos, so I don't go into it right now, but this is now the default action. And again, if I click here in the connection page, also on a card, same thing, we stay in the connection. Another change is related to the Add New button. To bring content into Trickle, especially experts and sources, now you have here an Add New button. We are now in My Trickle, Add New, and that shows you all four types of content. You can add an expert, a source, a stream, or a drip. Again, I talked about these different types in the past, and I will show you especially the Add Expert because we changed something there as well to make it easier. You find this button here in the My Trickle page. If you click on experts, if you filter for experts, this button changes into the Add Expert button right away. So you can click here to add an expert. Same with Add Source and so on. So this adapt to the most logical action. If you click again on the filter, it changes back to the standard button. If you are in a connection page and you click on Add Connection, you have here an alternative version of this button. It has the label Add New as well, and it has this round button here. We were not sure yet which design works best, so this is an alternative version which especially works in the small scale factor here. We could put a plus in here, but we could not add a label. So we use this empty space here. If you click here, same thing, the 4 options.
Yeah.
And if you add an expert now, for example, you add a source, you will see it appear here in the list. It's connected right away to the current context. These are my newsletter issues. If I would add another newsletter as a source, I would click on add connection, add new, add source, paste it here, and then it would be immediately connected to the newsletter issues stream. How to add an expert? We facilitated that in the past, and you still have that option. You could add an expert similar like a source. You could take the Twitter profile link or Wikipedia link and add this as a URL to the dialog, and that would add the expert. You could also search on Trickle for existing names. Now I go here to add expert and show you that we facilitated this. You could still paste the URL here of Wikipedia or Twitter. Just as a reminder, this represents the human being as an expert, right? So the profile page on Twitter or on Wikipedia linked to one expert on Trickle. So an expert on Trickle can have one Twitter and one Wikipedia entry, and we will add more profiles in the future. But if another person then enters the same Wikipedia profile, it would relate to the right expert. You can still do that, but you can also search for a name. And I show this now with Kai Brach, because that's who's writing these wonderful newsletters that you saw in the background. I entered the name here. Now 2 things, actually 3 things happen. The first thing is that Trickle is searched. I'll do this again, maybe to Einstein for that the first platform that's searched is Trickle itself. If the expert is already here, right, that's the Wikipedia entry of Albert Einstein, that's it. You could also search Wikipedia and Twitter. Now, I don't expect that Albert Einstein had a Twitter account, so, but a Wikipedia entry, you find the same entry, right? We already have Wikipedia entry for Albert Einstein. Now, if I add Kai Brach, he's not yet on Trickle, right? Nobody added him yet on Trickle. So Wikipedia is searched. And
you can take the ski jumper.
We find the ski jumper. So maybe the ski jumper, but you see here the T, right? So it's not the same person. So I can search on Twitter, and then you see.
But that means that Kai Brach has no Wikipedia profile.
Yes. Wikipedia has certain rules. There has to be some public interest. Somebody has to create that in the first place.
Like with the ski jumper,
references.
Public interest.
Yes, you can assume that a lot of famous people are on Wikipedia, and it's a wonderful mechanism. And so we rely on that too. But you won't find everybody. And Twitter is the opposite end of the spectrum. There are a lot of Twitter profiles. You have to be also a little bit careful, right? That's why we show you the follower count here. So Kai Brach, if I click now on him, that's him, right? Editor of Dense Discovery. That's the newsletter that you saw on the back of the page. So that's really him. You can also click here on the little Twitter icon to go to Twitter and have a look. It's the right person. Again, the follower count really indicates that quite well. And now I can connect this person right away, and you see what happened here. So now he is connected to this newsletter issue. What else is new? Expert via search. Oh, yes, a tricky thing, the inbox. What is My Trickle? My Trickle shows you all items, all content where you have at least one connection. Thorsten, if you would add a source, I would not see it in My Trickle, obviously. But if you would add a stream, make it public so that everybody can see it, you would flick a switch, make it public. If I would open that and connect something to it, then I would see your stream in My Trickle, because I have a connection then that I connected to. So My Trickle shows you all things where you have at least one connection. And often you have more, right? For example, here for this newsletter issue, I have 12 connections that point to this newsletter. And if I click on it, I see the 12 connections here, the ones, 12 connections, right? Everything is connected newsletter issues to this, the Atlantic article to this. And why did I connect them with that? Most of the links here I got from that newsletter. That's why I connected it to it. I know that this is the author of the newsletter, so I connected it to him. And I decided to have a stream where I try to collect all the newsletters that I extracted in that way. And then I have, for example, an article like this one. If I now click on that, I see where else I have connected it to. I don't only have it connected to this newsletter, but I also have two work-life plan and climate change, two streams, right? Two kind of categories that I wanted to file that in. That's the Trickle principle. That's the innovation. That's the thing that Trickle is all about, these connections. But what if you just want to add something? To go to a page and you see an article and you say, yeah, I connected to my Trickle. Now the solution is you connect it to your inbox. Is basically just a stream at this point. Everything that you don't connect to anything else is connected to your inbox. Things that I didn't connect before, everything that is not connected to anything else is at least connected to your inbox.
That means everything that is in my Trickle will have at least one connection.
At least one connection. Could be the inbox, but it could also be another source or another stream or another drip or another expert. It can be any object, but it has to be connected to something. The connection has two sides. It cannot be connected with itself. So you either connect it to something else or you connect it to your inbox or to both. Then you have two connections, right? We'll see where this goes. I was inspired by your inbox and your email. If you get an email, it's not nowhere, it's in your inbox. Gmail, for example, you can give it a tag that basically is like a folder in most email programs and so on. So then it gets technical and some people put it in another folder. Again, in Gmail, you can put it in two folders at the same time because it's basically a tag. But here we are in this connection world. And that means if you don't connect it to anything, it's connected to your inbox.
Yeah.
This is a good example. Most of the things are connected to other things. I see it here with the number 2, 3, 6, right? Most of them don't have to be in the inbox, but this is only connected to the inbox, right? You have a 1 here. So if I would remove that now, it would be gone from my Trickle. I can actually do that if I disconnect it. It turns gray, and then I can reconnect it again.
But where will it stay? In my Trickle?
It's temporarily now here, but if you refresh the page, it will be gone. It will just be deleted unless other people have connections to it. I would not see it in my Trickle anymore unless I would add it as a source. But since I still see it, I can connect it again.
Yeah.
The inbox is an object that you cannot delete. It's a kind of minimum thing that you have in my Trickle. If you add something to my Trickle, for example, with Add to Trickle browser shortcut, the bookmarklet that I would recommend everybody to use, then it will be connected to the inbox. If it's connected to the inbox, you can connect it to other areas too. Then you can decide to remove the connection to the inbox. Well, if I go to this connection, you can decide to remove that connection by clicking here on the bottom. You will still have it in my Trickle. This is a little bit to think about, right? It's this new system, but once you get a hold of it, it makes sense, and then you can work with it. And we will obviously introduce ways to make it much more intuitive and easier to manage.
That makes sense, yeah.
This is just a recent change for the users that are currently using Trickle. If I look at a public drip, so I go to this Learn section just to show you the point. In the past, you only saw your own drips and your own streams in My Trickle. So obviously, if you go to the Learn page and you read a published drip and you connected something, then you didn't see them in My Trickle because the drips were not written by you. That was the difference back in the day. We changed that. Now, if you make a connection, if you connect something to that drip, then you see both things of that connection in My Trickle. I'm now here in a drip, right? Here are connections. So I now click on the gray area. So I go now to the connections page. And the connections page shows me all the public connections for that drip. So you already saw these little icons in the drip reader, and you see here one end of the connection, the drip, and here the other end of the connection, the sources that are connected to that drip. That was done by Phil. I know it because Phil wrote that stream, published that stream on Trickle. So I can read it. And if I would say now, oh, this is an interesting source that I want to remember, then I can connect it. So I just click on the bottom right here on this little connect. I can disconnect it, connect it. That means a connection is created, right? Now I have a connection from this source to this drip. This is not my drip. This is just a normal source. Now, if I go back to my Trickle, you will see that you have now both objects in my Trickle, the source and the drip.
But you would not have it in your inbox, right?
No, you would not have it in your inbox. So now I have both the drip and the source in my Trickle because I have one connection that connects the two of them. I don't need the inbox because I just saved this one connection, and I can connect it now to other things as well. For example, if I have read this article and in there I found a good reference to a musician or to Spotify as a service, I can now add a connection here that I want to add. Take this one example here, which doesn't make sense, but I connected it now here. Mm-hmm. Now I did this only for me. This is nothing public. I connected this article that I learned about in this public drip to another source. And now when I look at this source, then I see the article I connected it to. Mm-hmm. I can click on that article and it reminds me I got it from this public drip. And now I wouldn't need the inbox. I could remove the inbox for this website. Mm-hmm. But that's the logic, right? And that's a change that you can now actually see in My Trickle drips, which are not yours. Mm-hmm. Right? You can look at them, you can read them, but you cannot edit them.
And if the author of the drip decides to not have it public anymore, it will also disappear.
Then it's just empty. It is connected to a drip where you don't have access to.
Yeah.
I always take the example of a tweet. If you embed a tweet from somebody else in your blog post, and then this person deletes the tweet, you open up your blog post and you see just this tweet was deleted. Same thing would happen if the TechCrunch article would just not be available anymore. Then I would still see the differences here. I would still see the image and the title, but I would not be able to open that article. So that's still online, even after 3 years. These objects basically stay online. I think we have to come to an end. We have one more thing. If you delete a source, if you remove a source, that can actually mean that another source is removed from your Trickle. Because imagine I have this connected only to this strip. I remove the source. Then this would be gone too from my Trickle. Because I don't have a connection anymore, because I delete all the connections that I personally have to this article.
And you will get a warning.
Give you the choice, what happens then? Either you remove them too. You don't, at the moment, you just see 1 or 2, or you just see the number. But you have the choice to remove them too, or you move them to your inbox, which is a nice intermediate step. Or you cancel that operation and decide not to remove it.
And in the future, would you also see which sources or drips that is connected to that might be gone?
Hopefully. This is a complex issue, right? Like, how do we display it? We learned our lesson that we need to stick to the basics. So at this point in time, you just see if something is affected. What you can do now is you can go to the connections page, find the things that have only a 1 in your connection, right? Because these are the things that are now at jeopardy. Here you have 1 connection. So then you can decide either you want to remove them or not, and then you do it manually. These are the public connections, right? Whenever I open this in the connection page, I see public connections. Other people can decide to make their connections public. At some point, you can also decide that. We'll talk about this in a different session. But these are public connections. And yes, you can double down on them. You can connect them too. But it's just a nice way to discover something that is connected. Good. That's plenty. I don't know how many people are watching until this very end. As usual, we're just starting out, but it's getting better every day. I enjoy that it's now officially early access, and feedback is always highly welcome.
Perfect.
See you next time.
See you. Bye.